Is that? So just some considerations to think about. Site preparation. Is this going into a till soil? Is it going into a no-till soil, a long-term no-till soil? Was it corn last year? Was it soybeans last year? What about early weed control if it's an early spring planting? Or if it's a summer. Weed control, particularly probably if it's a summer cover. If you're planting after wheat, maybe you came in and harvested wheat and didn't get your cover crop planted immediately, so it had 3 or 4 weeks of weed growth before you planted it, you're probably going to have to control the weeds a little bit. Timing and species, different crop rotation, seed quality. We're going to go through all these just briefly in a minute. Moisture management. We talked about that right there, right? And that's going to vary from year to year. You're going to have to evaluate. If it's a dry year, then maybe you need to go ahead and get that thing terminated. If it's a wet year, let it grow so it pulls moisture out. Some other considerations. When are you going to plant them? Are you going to plant them before or after a cash crop? What about nutrient cycle? I will tell you, I think the one thing that we all need to study more on is the carbon to nitrogen ratio and the nutrient cycle. Understanding, when you start adding particularly high biomass cover crops in front of corn, you need to understand carbon to nitrogen ratio and how that all works. Okay? I do a whole talk on just seed to N ratio. Okay? We don't have time to get into that today. But go spend some time studying this, particularly if you're going to start adding big biomass. I love big biomass cover crops in front of corn. But you better understand how to deal with that. Okay? That's one of the number one calls I get. I planted my corn and my corn's yellow. Well, what did you plant it into? Well, I planted it into waist high rock. You got a seed to N ratio issue. I've got other guys that love planting corn into waist high cover crops because they understood how to deal with it. Okay? All of it, weed and disease management, termination. How are you going to terminate it? Know what you're going to do with that cover crop before, right? Why did you plant it? What's the timing? How are you going to terminate it? Are you going to graze down? Are you going to roll it? Are you going to spray it? Are you going to hay it? Okay? So there's several different time frames on seeding it. Spring. If you're going to go into oats in front of maybe soybeans, you didn't get something planted in the fall, so you come in and put oats in the spring. A lot of other options in the spring right here. Maybe early summer after vegetables, after a wheat harvest, come in and put something in right after wheat or oats. So all of these, late summer, fall after harvest, all of these are going to play into what species you're going to pick. Right? If you're going to go in the summer, it's going to be a whole different selection of species than if you're going in the fall. So the whole reason for going through this is that we get way too many calls. Well, I just went down to the co-op and I told them to give me some cover crop seed. And I planted. Well, what time of year? How were you going to drill it? Were you going to fly it on? What was your purpose? Was it for weed control? Was it for grazing? We need to put as much time and effort and thought and management into our cover crop as our cash crop. Because it is a cover what? A cover crop. If we don't treat it like a crop, we're not going to get the full benefit out of it. We're not going to get our money's worth out of it. Treat it like a crop. Put time and effort, put studying and management into it. Everybody got that? But you say that again. No. Cover crops have the opportunity to make a boatload of money for you, but you better put the management effort into it up front. Okay? Just some different species. We have our 4 groups that we talked about. Cool season grasses, which is annual ryegrass, cereal rye, barley, oats, wheat, triticale. Those, everybody's pretty familiar with those. We kind of know how to manage those and handle those. Warm season grasses. Pearl millet, Japanese millet, sorghum Sudan, forage sorghum teff. Probably the biggest one right here in this group is the sorghum Sudan. It just has tremendous qualities, a lot of biomass, grows really well, good big seed, a lot of seed hardiness. Doesn't take a lot of specialty equipment to plant it. Probably the second biggest one on that is going to be pearl millet. Those two probably account for probably 70 or 80% of all. Although teff is kind of coming on. Cool season broadleaves. Radishes, turnips, rape, kale, collards, okay, phacelia. The one that I think gets overhyped a lot is radishes. And it has some great characteristics, but I tell you, it gets really, really oversold a lot. And I think we're kind of backing off. I think we've got that figured out. A lot of people realize now that you don't want to go plant 8 pounds of radish. I'll show a picture of that here in a minute. Buckwheat, this is our warm season broadleaves. Buckwheat, safflower, sunflower, and there's several others in there. Cool season legumes. Obviously the clovers, red, white, clover. We got crimson, vetch. I think there's a lot of opportunities for vetches anymore. And then the peas. Austrian winter pea. We were having a discussion about that yesterday. There's just a lot of benefits to those Austrian peas. Again, a big seed, a lot of seed energy. They're pretty tough. A lot of good opportunities for those. Warm season legumes. Cowpeas, soybeans, sun hemp. Yes, you can. Did you know you guys can use soybeans as a cover crop? That was actually the first use for soybeans was as a forage, not a grain. It was originally used as a forage crop. Okay. Chickpeas, mung beans, sun hemp is a tropical plant, and it's a big nitrogen fixer. So when you start adding all these other